Welcome to the Dating Advisory Board. I have Ron Novak here. He's an entrepreneur and angel investor who has helped grow his IT company, Segue Technologies, into over $25 million in annual revenue. So let's segue into his latest venture. Ron is co-founder of Caring Village, and you can find them on the web at www.caringvillage.com, which is a caregiving assistance platform. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So excited that you're here.
Happy to be here.
Good. So, okay, first question. So let's talk a little bit about your background and how you came to get in the tech world. So Let's talk some tech.
Yeah, I actually, I did what all tech entrepreneurs do. I majored in psychology, and then I started working at Radio Shack, making about $6-7 an hour, which I thought, made a lot of sense. My parents thought I was crazy. But actually, that is how I got into tech. I eventually joined an early stage startup, which was Segue Technologies. There were about 5 employees at the time. And after working there a couple of years, my partners and I acquired the company, which is really more of a fancy way of saying we took out a crap ton of debt and faked it for about 3 years trying to figure out actually how to run a company. But one of the things we were always really good at was building things. So we did software development, web applications, eventually mobile applications. So that really helped us grow because we were always really good at delivering on our promises.
Well, that's good. So can you give a little bit of background on Segue, what they do?
Sure. So we're primarily a defense contractor. So the Air Force is our largest customer. So we do a lot of network engineering, security, web and mobile application for groups all over the country and actually the world. And we've been doing that, since 1997.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great. So when you talk about being an angel investor, what in your mind, give us a little background on how you got into angel investing.
Sure.
And how does that work? Like, how do people stand out when they are pitching their business?
Sure. I'm probably a little bit more on the risky side in the sense that I typically invest in early stage pre-revenue organizations that I trust the founders. I think they have a good business plan, a good idea, and preferably in a business that I know something about. So I tend to be a little bit tech heavy. But it's something for me it's been a way to diversify some of my investments, but also keep me involved and kind of current with a lot of things that are going on, specifically in technology.
Right. So would you say they're more in the tech space, like apps? Because are you developing a ton of apps right now?
Yeah, a lot of apps, but also some technology. So one of the groups I'm invested in, they've actually developed a automated pill dispensing box. So allows people to be more compliant with their medication, specifically organizations that have advanced medication regimens, which is very common in seniors or people that have chronic conditions. So that's something that it just caught our eye very early. We invested in them early stage. Some apps, also some more non-traditional tech areas or more traditional investments like banks and even a restaurant, which that might not have been the smartest investment, but I'm a gambler. As long
as it was good.
I'm a gambler. I got to risk a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Diversify. Right?
Exactly. Diversify safety. Diversify safety.
Exactly. So let's talk about Caring Village. How did you get involved? And give us a background on what it is and what it does.
Sure. So really, we've been building applications for our clients on Segue for so long, and have always been looking for an opportunity to build our own product. So about a couple years ago, we started doing some research in the medical space in particular, and are looking for things that really resonated with my partners and I. And both my partners and I had experience in caregiving for our family members. Me specifically, my father was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer back in 2010. And, my brothers and sister and I were the only caregivers for him, and we could barely take care of ourselves. We're in our 20s and 30s. So we went from, kind of dealing with this guy that's been the rock in our life for so long to someone who just rapidly declined, and a lot of the caregiving activities that we undertook with him were things that we just really didn't know about. So all the communication between each other, text, emails, phone calls. Eventually, when we got a care pro in the home, and they were supposed to leave notes every day on what happened. Did he get to his chemo appointments? Did he eat? Did he have a good day? Those type of things, is very inconsistent. That field is just very antiquated, and sometimes we would get no notes at all. Other times we would get, pretty detailed notes, but we just never knew. So we were constantly worried, calling each other all day long. And my business partner had a very similar experience with his mother-in-law and father dealing with Parkinson's and dementia at the same time. So, we dug deeper and really looked for ways to help family members better collaborate and coordinate all of their caregiving activities with each other, which is essentially what we developed with the Caring Village. So it's a caregiving assistance platform. It's both an app for iOS and Android, as well as a web dashboard that allows people to communicate, bring in care pros into the situation. You can have nurses, doctors, et cetera, all involved in the caregiving activities, so you have a common operating picture of really what's going on at any given time.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked your video that you did.
Yeah.
It was a quick, 2-minute video, but it was very interesting. It was very easy to use. You get updates. It sends it out to different people. I mean, it was very, very interesting.
Thank you. I mean, everything is focused on trying to make it actionable. We don't want it to just be another portal you have to log into. Everything is tied to real-time notifications, information, so that everyone's really in the know of what's happening. And more importantly, as a caregiver, it's more often than not, it's hard for the primary caregivers to ask for help. Sometimes they don't even know how to ask for help. So to be able to just have a laundry list of activities and put them in the app and put this little button out there that says, hey, we need a volunteer for these, it allows people to, when they say, hey, how can I help? This actually gives them a way to help. Yeah. So we've implemented that with the system. Well,
that's great. I can't wait to see it go across the masses, because I know it will. Knowing you, it will.
Yeah, thanks.
So let's bring it back into the dating. You talk about some strategies in the dating world and how that can apply. When you're talking about building businesses, right, or you're investing in businesses, what would be your first steps if one would be creating a dating strategy?
Yeah, and I can kind of draw a parallel with a business strategy and a dating strategy in the sense that I think a lot of businesses, whether you're starting one out or you have an existing business and you're trying to scale it, I don't think a lot of businesses have that clear line of communication with their customers or potential customers. And that can be done a lot of different ways, whether it's social media, whether it's doing surveys. Ryan Novak actually has written a book about this called The Ask Strategy. And if you haven't read it, it's amazing. But he's essentially created a formula to allow people to create these surveys, continually get feedback, even pre-development. So you can essentially develop your requirements based on actual feedback from your customers. And I think that's just absolutely critical in the business sense, to have that pulse of what your customers really want. Because you can have this great idea to develop an app and your friends and family are telling you it's amazing.
Right.
But if you do it and then no one's actually listening or actually wants it, you're wasting a lot of time and money.
Yeah.
And kind of the comparison to that with dating is, I think in the dating world, you're kind of forced to ask yourself, right? What do I want in a relationship? What do I want out of a partner? And be willing to hold yourself accountable to that. Like that constant feedback from yourself. If you're constantly falling for that guy that's treating you like crap, or the bad boy that isn't doing you any good,
right.
You might need to check yourself,
right,
and really
before you wreck yourself,
exactly.
literally.
Exactly, girl.
I mean, let's get it going.
Yeah,
no.
Got to.
No, but I mean, think about it. So we have the dating advisory board. You have boards in your personal life and in business. I mean, there's really no difference.
No.
But asking, somebody said to me, they said, you can't always see your own flaws or what you're good at. I mean, sometimes you need other people and have that honest conversation with them.
Exactly.
Go to your 5 friends and say, hey, by the way, what are my strong points and what are my weaknesses?
Yep.
Now, it takes a strong person to listen and, without being upset. Like, I can't believe you think of me that way. But, I mean, take that criticism, to heart. Because think about it. If you are making the same, decisions and they are bad, and you're making a series of bad decisions in certain areas of your dating life, then maybe it's time to kind of do some self-reflection.
Totally,
right?
But treat it like your business, right?
Right.
If things are failing in your business and your customers are giving you feedback that they don't like your products or services, you change it, right?
Right.
So why wouldn't you do the same thing in your personal life?
Yeah, I mean, it's I see it over and over, and I do have one girlfriend, same thing, but she doesn't want to ask for help, or she doesn't want to change. Like, I'm just me. If they can't handle me at 100%, then that's their problem. No, then don't complain.
Right.
That you have the same mistakes.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So since we're talking about the dating strategies, I know before the show you said you've got a really good dating story, and I got to hear this epic one.
This one's pretty funny, and it's 100% true. I will leave his name out because you might actually know him.
Okay.
So a buddy of mine, and I don't know why this makes it funnier, but he's an attorney, so for some reason, just to set the stage, him and his buddies made a bet that he couldn't drink a gallon of milk in an hour and keep it down. And the whole concept of the bet was, you have 1 year to do this, you can do it whenever you want, but we have to be there to watch you. So, as a typical male, he waited until the last day. So 364 days into the bet, he said, "Oh crap, I gotta do this because I'm not gonna lose this bet."
What was the bet though?
To drink a gallon of milk.
No,
in
no,
an
but
hour.
that's just a bet. Like, was there anything? If
You know what's funny? I actually don't even remember.
Yeah. Okay. I was like, so what's on the other side if you didn't do it?
It was probably dumb. Like maybe they paid for the milk. Who knows? $10 or something. I mean,
whatever.
It was the bet itself. We're just meatheads, right? So anyway, he had the guys come over, watched him drink the gallon of milk, but what he didn't tell them is that he was set up on a blind date that night. So literally 2 hours prior to him going out on his blind date that he was set up with someone, they've been trying to work this out for a while too. He drinks the gallon of milk, holds it down, no problem. Goes out on the date. They were going to do dinner and a movie, but in reverse order. So they were going to go see the movie first and then go to dinner. So they get into the movie theater, and then that's when he starts getting the bubbles.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, real quick. Hey, I'm going to go get some popcorn. You know where he was really going.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
He's going to the bathroom.
Exactly.
Soda, more popcorn. He ran out of excuses. He ran out of things to go get in the bathroom. 15 visits later to the restroom, he's literally like trying not to shart there in the theater.
He probably doesn't have a pair of backup pants either.
Oh my God, no. I mean, so he says he's sweating. He feels like he went in the bathroom like trying to take his shirt off and stuff like that. He's absolutely just losing it. He goes back into the movie theater after the 16th time she's gone.
Yeah.
She just rolled out.
Yeah, she's probably like, what is this guy doing?
I love that story. It's so epic.
I mean, I think it'd be fun, like how my mental picture is going, like he's like there with one of the blow dryers, like the Dyson air, just like trying to pull himself off and like
putting wet towels on his face.
Full panic mode.
It's so typical.
That is.
Men are stupid. Yeah.
I mean, like, hey, let's think about the consequences of doing this. But I mean,
but he won the bet.
He won the bet,
Yeah.
right? Of course, yeah. Of course, he was going to do it.
Exactly.
There was no way he was going bad. So, so as we were talking on the technology side, I mean, what do you think? Aside from the milk, how those age, and how the game has changed in the dating world in the last 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with technology, I mean, I think there's a lot of changes. I feel like 10 years ago, maybe even earlier, the whole concept of online dating, using Match or something like that, there's a big stigma with it, right? Whereas now, it almost seems like it's the norm. It's almost weird if you didn't meet someone through some sort of service. I just think it creates so much more efficiencies and allowing people to connect with people that they have common likes and interests and things like that. So I think it's great. I think where people tend to get a little lazy with technology is they might not go to those traditional, ways of meeting people, whether it's joining a club or if you're into hiking, going hiking and meeting people that way. I think it might create some laziness. I mean, I've even seen apps out there that you can set up reminders to text your mom or your loved one or your girlfriend or whatever, so you don't have to. Like, you can literally like schedule out all your like, hey, I love you, or how you doing today type text, so that that people don't even have to.
Okay, you may have to tell me what that is later.
Well, I mean, from a
no.
busy person, it sounds like a great idea, right? But from a dating standpoint, it just seems like you're starting to lose some personal connections there a little bit. But
yeah, because I mean, think about it. I mean, how many times have you heard people say, it's all about creating experiences?
Yep.
How many times you look around, like just open your eyes if you're at lunch, if you're eating lunch somewhere like Panera or going to get Starbucks, and everybody's heads down.
Yeah, well, they're playing Pokemon Go, running into a wall.
And now there's Pokemon Go dating,
Yeah.
so which I'm glad they got on board with that pretty quick.
It's a brilliant idea.
I know. It's funny because we were talking about that, had Melanie Spring on and Michelle Jacoby, and before it aired, we talked about they should have a Pokemon Go for dating, and sure enough,
they did.
Yeah, they did. I think it was like a week and a half out when Pokemon came out that it was launched.
Brilliant.
I know, it was brilliant. I mean, hello.
I love it.
I just love it. There's people getting out of the house. Now, people are running into each other, and there's that kind of thing, literally running into each other.
Oh, I was walking my dog a couple weeks ago, and I saw two guys literally next to a tree in the woods, not moving, just standing there with their heads down, and it was the most bizarre thing. My wife had no idea what Pokemon Go was at the time, but I tried to explain it to her.
Yeah, you tried to explain it. Yeah. No, but so it was interesting because, companies can now use this. Like, we talk about how people really have to get on the technology board. I mean, think about the people, like the gyms. They're, getting these Pokemon, and people are going into the gym. Well, hey, since I'm here, I might as well work out. Yeah. Right? Or in coffee shops.
At least it's driving a real personal interaction versus,
right,
I don't know, just being behind the screen the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. And then that goes back to like texting. Let's talk about that. instead of face to face, right? So we're talking about that personal communication. I mean, there's some people that just like, I just don't want to be on the phone. And I think that's more on the younger generation. But like for other people, they're like, I mean, how do you not have human interaction? Is this your whole relation going to be on text message or emoji?
Yeah, I mean, and that's, again, that's part of those efficiencies are created because you're able to do these things and more quickly communicate.
Yeah.
But then I think the good thing is it condenses the timeline of dating. I mean, obviously, you don't need to, like in swingers, the industry standard 3-day wait to call someone. I think nowadays, if you don't text someone back the next day, if they don't get a return text, you probably realize that it's over.
Right.
But, still, I still think those personal connections, real world interactions, doing things that you like to do in the real world are still going to be the best ways to meet people.
Yeah. And, and asking for referrals, just like in business, right? Asking for referrals with friends because you're friends with them for a reason, right?
Exactly.
And like, oh, hey, do you know anyone? I mean, they may not, but at one point they could be out to dinner or like, be in a business meeting like, man, so-and-so should really go out with this person because, I could see them, working out.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, just like in business, make it easy. You know how like a lot of times in business, you make it easy for someone to refer you.
Yeah.
Do the same thing in your personal life. It's if you have, hobbies and things like that, I mean, those should be apparent to other people, especially friends and family.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So what are some of the top 3 dating or business deal breakers in your mind?
I think number 1 for me is the lack of follow through. I think my biggest pet peeve period is if someone says they're going to do something and they don't do it, like I lose trust in that person immediately. Whether it's, saying you're going to meet someone out somewhere, whether you're going to respond to an RFP, if you're going to turn in, a deliverable on time, and you don't do it, I instantly lose trust. So, I mean, that's probably number 1 for me. I think honesty is a big one. I had a situation where we had a partner company that we were working with, and they brought us in on a deal, and we were pitching their board on a solution. And in the middle of the presentation, he didn't tell me he was going to do this. He just grossly exaggerated the nature of our working relationship, how long we've been working together, how many projects we'd done together. And I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, if this is the way he's going to be in a sales situation, just imagine what it's going to be, actually during execution. So that is a major red flag for me is anyone who's, especially if they're going to be dishonest right in front of your face, right? So that's a big one.
Like I'm still going to see you after this meeting.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and still have to deal with you.
And what did you expect me to say in there? What if they had then asked me, what was the nature of your relationship?
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to make it up, right?
Wow.
Then that puts me in a bad position. And I think the third one would probably be the way, especially, now this can hold true in dating or in business, the way someone treats other people, especially people that work with them.
Yeah.
So I can make a direct comparison to, being on a date or being with someone who treats the waiter at a restaurant like crap. I mean, I've had this where we've actually had a business lunch and we're having this really great, conversation. You're a very polite person. And the waitress comes over and he's like, I need you to leave right now.
Wow.
I mean, literally put her hand up like he's going to push her through the force or something. And I'm just sitting there.
Embarrassed.
What?
Yeah, that's
really?
embarrassing.
It was horrible. So I've also seen it in situations where an executive or manager is treating their staff very disrespectfully in front of you. I just don't want to work with people like that. So for me, and that holds true in business or in dating.
Yeah, because imagine, like that person, imagine if they're doing that. Imagine what it's like behind closed doors.
Exactly. If they're going to do that
in front of other people, just imagine the nightmare they are.
Totally.
Behind the scenes. I mean, it's just,
yeah, huge pet peeve.
Yeah. But you're right, though. I mean, talk about, loyalty in business and the dating world. Trust is important in both sides. It correlates very, very seamlessly in my mind. I mean, having to trust, I've grown my business. I mean, I have 300 clients in the DC area that have the Avaya phone system, right?
Yeah.
But I'm honest with them. I'm like, no, you don't need this. I'm not just going to sell you something,
right?
Because so and so says, "Oh, well, this is a really good product." Well, no, it's got to make sense, and I think that creates value.
But I think after a while, it might be hard for startups to do this, but when you get to the point where you can be a little choosy with your clients and choose to work with people that not necessarily you would always go out and have a beer with or something like that, but that you share kind of that common vision of how you work with people in the workplace and respect. I think that's really critical.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and you're right. Now, what would you say is one piece of advice that you have heard along the way that kind of changed your mindset?
Yeah, I had a boss one time. I was working as a pharmacy tech. I think this was in college. And we somehow got talking about his relationship with his wife. And I don't know exactly how it came up, but he basically said, my wife and I don't fight. And I said, well, what do you mean you don't fight? And he said, well, we had a really bad fight a couple of years ago, and we both felt horrible afterwards. We couldn't sleep. And we decided we never wanted to have that feeling again. So obviously they have disagreements. You're going to be on different sides of issues. But he said, we never raise our voice anymore. We just decided that it is not worth it to us. And that really resonated with me because I didn't necessarily grow up like that. I mean, sometimes you just hash it out and then you get over it, right? Yeah. But my wife and I, we've kind of taken that true, and I think we've had maybe 3 fights in the 20 years we've been dating or together. We just don't do it, and it holds true in business too. I think it allows you to have a more level head in any situation. The situation where you might normally get agitated or fired up, or maybe you do want to scream and yell. If you can keep a more calm head, I think it allows you to think more clearly in almost any situation, really.
Yeah, especially coming from a leader, right?
Yeah.
The CEO of the company. I mean, the CEO of a company is going crazy,
right.
Yelling and screaming.
Loose cannon.
Throws everybody else under the bus, takes all the credit, right? I mean, those nightmares. I mean, those people can go in their own vortex somewhere and just
exactly.
keep it moving.
Yeah, I just thought that was really kind of a neat outlook, and it holds true for me, for sure. Yeah,
that's interesting. Now, when you say, I say that people have a tendency, when you talk about startups, right? And you talk about this of the dating world, like, I don't want to do it, like, I'm scared, it may not work out for me in business or my personal life. So what would you say to the people that get discouraged when dating, or even when they're starting a company?
This is probably the most cliche answer I'll give you, but I honestly think that effort and work, because if there's not to bust on millennials and say that it's an entitled generation, because I actually don't think that's true. I think they're actually very hardworking. I'm just kind of on the edge of being a millennial, so I can bounce on either side. But I think a lot of people just expect things to happen, and they expect, they should have a good relationship if they're in a business that, customers are just going to come to them. They've got this great idea, they've got a great cause behind it, they just deserve success, or they deserve to do well. And that's really, it's not the case. You got to work your ass off. Yeah. And I think it's just so critical to put the effort in. I think effort trumps luck all day long.
Yeah. So. I think it's true. I mean, I think I had an advantage, just like you did with volleyball, right? And I had it with tennis, that, when you have an athlete and you kind of have that mindset, right? And it's a game changer. I mean, you look at things, you have to put in the work. There's schedules, like you got 3-hour practices, you got training sessions, you got matches, and you're so hyper-focused on achieving that goal. Right? I mean, you need to do that. And if you could take that and apply that in business and in the dating world, I mean, not crazy in the dating world, but just to a point where it can be overwhelming, too big, because if you give too many choices, people aren't going to do anything, right? So just try to hyper-focus. Here's what I want. Write that list down. Put that in your profile.
I'm a big list guy. I agree with you on that.
I am
Huge list
so
guy.
list. I'm like, all right, what's on my list?
And working 40 hours a week, if you own a business, that's
not happening.
It's not going to happen. If you want to succeed, it's not going to happen, especially in the early days.
Yeah, no. And then someone say, "Oh, did you see what so-and-so episode of this?" I'm like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "I barely have time to wash my hair."
Right. I never wash mine.
No, I really do wash my hair, but I'm just saying it's an analogy. So tell us your other really funny dating story.
The other one isn't funny as much as it's 100% true and super sweet. Super sweet.
Aww.
So my wife and I went to high school together, didn't date in high school. It's kind of a convoluted story, but I'll try to make it clear. My college roommate at the time had a friend come and visit us. So we were living together at UVA. And this girl came in, and she said she went to Radford. And I said, hey, I have a friend that lives at Radford, or goes to school at Radford. I'll play the name game. Just curious if you know her. I'm like, Nicole. And she was like, whoa, yeah, she's my lab partner. And I was like, really? And I'm like, what are the odds of that? So I said, all right, well, when you see her next, go back and tell her to break up with her boyfriend and let her know I'm going to marry her someday.
Wow.
And we were not dating. I hadn't talked to her in probably a couple months. And it happened. I got a phone call 2 weeks later, and we went on a date 2 weeks later.
And the rest is history.
Rest is history.
Well, that's really
Got her.
cute. You got her.
Got
But you
her.
put it out there, right? So let's talk about that for a second. That's very
I had
interesting.
hair back then, though.
Oh my God.
So that was
doesn't
probably
matter. But you asked. You put it out
Yeah.
there. There's so many times where
Good
people,
point.
you
Good
know,
point, yeah.
I mean, you put out there. Hey, you had nothing to lose. What was the worst thing she could say was no.
Exactly.
Right. And I have that in business too. Like I was talking about that email. Like I'm gonna submit something really funny and see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very small chance in hell I'll get there.
You never know.
But if you never know, you don't try. So I would definitely, if anything, take away from this podcast, go up to that person at Starbucks, say hello,
Yeah.
or Panera, how are you, and smile. Right?
Gotta take risks or it never
take
happens.
risks. Right, exactly. And then look at how great, what happened with you. So that's my
I got lucky on that one.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She is pretty awesome.
She's awesome. So tell us how people can get in touch with you.
Sure. Well, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter at Ron_Novak, and you can check us out at caringvillage.com to see what we're doing with the caregiving assistance platform. And then on the technology side, Segway Technologies, www.segwaytech.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ron.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, have a great day.
All right, you too.
All right, see you.